My name is Anthony C. Acevedo. I was born in San Bernardino, California, July 31st, 1924. When I was born, my father was a very weird type of person, accordingly. I was born, and then my sister was born after that. My mother died right after my sister was a year and a half old. So my father let me with my grandmother, and then my grandmother, my father had very odd thinkings in his mind, so he decided to take us away from my grandmother. And finally wound up from San Bernardino to Pasadena, where I grew up with my stepmother. When my father was living in Mexico, he decided to move us totally to Mexico, to Durango, Mexico. As soon as I was about 17 years old, things started to develop, but I have to reiterate something that motivated that movement that took place. Okay. My father was a director of public works for the state of Durango and chief of highway construction of the Pan American Highway. He decided to build the Olympics because Mexico was going to be in the Olympics. So my father built the Olympic system, a big swimming pool, 100 meters by 50 meters. And there were two other friends of mine, Antonio Carrola and Jose Blanco. And before in the morning, he'd come at 5 in the morning and we'd go out swimming before going to class. I went back to Pasadena where I grew up. I remained there with my half-aunts. And time came where I had to go to the draft board and join the Army. As soon as I was 18, I understood that I had to go into induction center and register. Sure enough, there's a time that as soon as I was 18, I had to register and go into the Army. I selected the Army, and from there they took me to Oregon. And I was put into the infantry. I had records with me stating, as reference that my father indicated, that I wanted to be a doctor. So when I showed them the papers, letters, references, they understood, and they transferred me over to the medical corps. Time went on when when they decided to send me to a school of medicals and train there for 6 months, equivalent to 4 years of medicine. During that time of the training, they finally decided that the whole group of the division was to be sent, or were to be sent to Europe. So we were shipped on the SS America all the way to Europe. I, as a medic, started to have problems with fellows that were rejecting and that were afraid of hitting the front. and they turned to me as casualties. So I had to sign them up and tag them down as casualties. Remove their rifles, whatever they had, and identify them as casualties. So as soon as we headed to the front, I was sent with a group of Company B. There was another medic. He was Jewish, married Pruzan, and he was very afraid of being in the war. He came up to me and he says, "I'm afraid, Tony." He says, "I think I'm gonna die." "Why do you say that?" He says, "I'm afraid, I can't face it." He died, let himself be hit by the Germans while he was taking care of the company commander, which the company commander was severely wounded. I continued on to take care of the commander, and I couldn't take care of Pruzan. The Germans slaughtered him. The ship that we were on, it was the SS America, that held 20,000 troops of the complete division, tanks and trucks along with it. One thing that did to me that I couldn't stand the waves in the ocean, because I held on to the edge of when I go up and down the stairways, and I throw up. So they had me lying down on a bed and fed me Ritz crackers all the way until I was able to withstand the movement of the ocean. The division I was assigned to was the 70th Infantry Division, Company B, 250 detachment. I was able to do some aid work in trying to help the wounded, and some would die on me. Some I had to amputate a leg because I was hanging there, and put tourniquets to prevent hemorrhages. We carried our bags on a side, and we carried plenty of morphine and medications for quick and emergencies, where if there was a hemorrhage going on, to prevent pain, was that we administered morphine to them, or take it as a pill, or inject it to prevent the pain. The Falkenberg started right around Christmas of 1944, and the battle lasted until about the 1st of January of 1945, when suddenly we were surrounded by the Germans, and the Germans rushed up and removed the armament from the fellas. A lot of the fellas started tossing them out and trying to do away with the arms, the firearms, by cracking them and hitting them on the ground. The snow was up to our waist. We were hit. I was hit by shrapnel. I bandaged myself up. I was hit in the leg and scratched in my neck. It was shrapnel. And then they were at that hill. We were forced to take our boots off and walk down the hill barefooted in the snow. Until we got down from that hill, then that was when I was near the German trucks, and a company of a German commander wanted me to follow up as a medic, offered me to, if I would turn myself in, and thinking that for some reason I was a spy, that he would offer me to take me to Munich and offer me to, he said, we'll put you in a medical school for you to be a doctor. I told him no. I'm an American and I don't betray my country. He forced me to walk barefooted until we got to the prison camp. We didn't get into the trucks. They wouldn't put us in the trucks. The gates of the prison camp, and they took our names down, our ranks. And then they marched us inside, and they assigned us to a barracks. And we were there one day to the next day, and I was on the floor lying down, weak. I hadn't eaten for days. We were all hungry, and all we ate was the snow that we picked from the ground. And suddenly we hear the chains unlocked from the doors of the prison camp, of the barracks. And in walked two guards with their machine guns, and an officer in a very elegant dressed in a white, black coat, leather coat, black, all the way down to his knees, with a tip, cigarette tip, and a baton, just shaking it with a hat. Very elegant type. You thought you was a movie star. Which that engraved into my, since I knew what I saw. I couldn't believe it. He came by and poked at me to get up. Walked me out to a room with a table and two chairs. He sat on one chair and I sat on the other. They told the guards, move out. And that's where the interrogation started. When the interrogation started, he asked me where I was born. I said, you know it already, why do you ask me? And then he called me back in Spanish and said, no soy pendejo. Yo sé lo que tú sabes.